Title: The Terrorists' Redemption Chapter 1. A Childhood in Shadows. Just a boy when war tore through his village, leaving destruction and grief in its wake. Orphaned at 12, he wandered aimlessly until Zayed, a militant leader, took him in. Zayed filled Karim's mind with promises of justice and revenge, presenting himself as a savior. He provided food, shelter, and a sense of purpose, but at a cost. Karim was trained to handle weapons, follow orders, and fight enemies he had never met. His days were filled with rigorous drills, while his nights were haunted by memories of his family. Despite his growing skills, a part of him felt trapped. Zayd's teachings were absolute, leaving no room for doubt or compassion. Over time, Karim witnessed acts of violence that seemed unnecessary. Bombings, raids, and innocent lives lost were explained as necessary sacrifices. He wanted to believe Zayd's words, but the cries of the victims stayed with him. Deep down, Karim longed for the peace his childhood once knew. Chapter 2. The Turning Point. At 25, Karim had become a trusted lieutenant in Zayd's ranks. He carried out missions without question, earning the respect of his peers, yet a hollow feeling grew within him. One fateful day, during a village raid, Karim found a young girl hiding under a collapsed roof. Her name was Amal, and she reminded Karim of his little sister, who had died in the airstrike that killed their family. Instead of following orders to leave no survivors, Karim carried Amal to safety. His comrades noticed his hesitation, but he brushed it off as a tactical decision. Amal's innocence stirred something in Karim that he hadn't felt in years. Empathy. He realized he couldn't continue this life of destruction. For the first time, he questioned Zayd's motives and the path he had chosen. Was this truly justice, or was it just another cycle of hatred? Chapter 3. The Escape. Karim knew his act of defiance hadn't gone unnoticed. Zayd was suspicious, and Karim understood that leaving the group wouldn't be easy. Late one night, he packed supplies, took Amal by the hand, and fled the camp. The two ventured through rugged terrain, hiding from patrols sent to track them down. The journey was grueling. Amal, though young, was brave and followed Karim's every instruction. They slept in abandoned barns and ate whatever they could scavenge. Karim's survival skills kept them alive, but the constant threat of discovery loomed over them. One evening, as they crossed a river, they heard voices in the distance. Zayd's men were closing in. Karim covered Amal's mouth to muffle her cries and waited in silence until the danger passed. It was in these moments that Karim realized he wasn't just running for his life, he was running toward redemption.
Chapter 4. The Hidden Ally. After weeks on the run, Karim and Amal reached a border town. Exhausted and wary of betrayal, they kept a low profile. Karim sought refuge in a small cafe, where he overheard a woman speaking about the atrocities committed by Zayd's group. Her name was Layla, a journalist investigating the militants. Karim approached her cautiously, revealing his identity and his decision to leave the group. Layla was skeptical, but intrigued. She agreed to help after seeing Amal's fear and Karim's sincerity. Together, they devised a plan to expose Zayd's crimes, gathering evidence and testimonies from other survivors. Karim's knowledge of the group's operations proved invaluable. Layla taught him how to document and communicate their findings securely. For the first time, Karim felt hope, not just for himself, but for the possibility of justice for those who had suffered. Chapter 5. The Past Catches Up. Karim's past began to catch up with him as he worked with Layla. In the marketplace, a man recognized him as one of Zayd's men and shouted for the authorities. Karim managed to escape, but the incident left him shaken. He couldn't deny the blood on his hands. Layla encouraged Karim to confront his guilt, reminding him that redemption wasn't about erasing the past, but building a better future. Karim decided to reach out to other former militants who had left the group, convincing them to share their stories. Slowly, a network of resistance began to form. However, Zayd wasn't blind to Karim's efforts. word reached him that his former lieutenant was working against him. Zayed sent a message. You can run, but you can't hide. Karim knew the fight for justice would come at a cost, but he was willing to pay it. Chapter 6. The Infiltration. Determined to stop Zayed, Karim devised a risky plan to infiltrate his former group. With Layla's help, he forged a story that he had been captured by the authorities and escaped. The group was initially suspicious, but Karim's knowledge of their operations convinced them to let him back in. Inside the camp, Karim found Zayed preparing for a major attacks on a densely populated city. The plan involved using suicide bombers and explosives to create chaos. Karim's heart sank as he saw innocent recruits being manipulated, much like he had been as a child. Secretly, Karim gathered intelligence, taking photographs and recording Zayed's plans. Each night, he sent messages to Layla, who was working with international authorities to stop the attack. But time was running out, and Karim knew his cover could be blown at any moment. Chapter 7. Betrayal and Sacrifice. Karim's worst fears came true when one of Zayed's loyal men discovered his hidden communication device. Zayed was enraged, declaring Karim a traitor. Beaten and imprisoned, Karim faced execution. Despite the pain, he refused to reveal Layla's location or the extent of his plans. Layla, aware of the danger, contacted a trusted ally in the military. A rescue mission was launched, but Karim's situation grew dire. In a daring move, he escaped his cell during a commotion and sabotaged some of the explosives planned for the attack. Injured and exhausted, Karim barely made it out of the camp alive. Layla and Amal found him hiding in the forest, weak but alive. Despite his injuries, Karim insisted they press on, knowing Zayed would not stop until his plans were complete. Chapter 8. The Final Battle. Karim and Layla worked with local resistance fighters to plan a counterattack. Knowing the camp's layout and Zayed's strategies, Karim led the operation. The battle was fierce, with gunfire and explosions lighting up the night. Karim confronted Zayed in the heart of the camp. Their fight was brutal, fueled by years of betrayal and anger. In a decisive moment, Karim overpowered Zayed, ending his reign of terror. The remaining militants, leaderless and disoriented, surrendered or fled. As the dust settled, Karim stood amidst the wreckage, surrounded by survivors who looked to him with gratitude and hope. Though he had won, the cost was immense. Karim knew he couldn't undo the past, but he had finally made a difference.
Chapter 9. A New Beginning With Zayed gone, the militant group crumbled. Karim, Layla, and Amal returned to the border town, where Karim began working to rebuild the lives of those affected by the violence. He helped establish a shelter for orphan children, ensuring they wouldn't face the same fate he had. Layla published a powerful expose, detailing Karim's journey and Zayed's crimes. The story gained international attention, sparking aid efforts for the war-torn region. Karim, however, shied away from the spotlight, focusing on his work with the children. Amal, now a symbol of hope in the community, flourished under Karim's care. She began attending school, dreaming of a future free from the shadows of war. Karim found solace in her laughter, a reminder that even in darkness, light could prevail. Chapter 10. Legacy of Hope Years passed, and Karim's story became a legend. Amal, now grown, dedicated her life to advocating for peace and justice. She wrote a book about Karim's journey, titled The Man Who Chose Redemption*. The book inspired countless others to reject violence and embrace compassion. Karim lived a quiet life, content with the changes he had helped bring. Though he bore the scars of his past, he found peace in knowing he had made amends. His shelter grew into a community center, offering education and support to those in need. On his final day, surrounded by Amal and the children he had saved, Karim reflected on his journey. From a lost boy consumed by hatred to a man of courage and hope, his life stood as proof that even the darkest paths could lead to redemption. As the sun set, Amal vowed to continue his work, ensuring his legacy would endure. Karim's story became a beacon of hope, a reminder that change was always possible, no matter how far one had fallen.